In today's podcast, I want to talk about shooting the messenger. If you're listening to these podcasts, I suspect that you've got your own psychic gift and your own messages and intuition, which is probably more honed than the general public. Therefore, you will be getting lots of information. Now, this is a really good thing that you can hear your guides or you can get the messages, but you need to be quite careful in the human world. Of course, I do this as well, and I've learnt the hard way that sometimes when you think and your intention is to help other people, it doesn't always be the outcome that you wanted. Be really careful. That's why I've done this little podcast. When to speak, when not to speak. I actually ask my guides, should I say anything, and ask for a yes or no, and I get a general idea of yes or no. But I haven't always done it properly. And there have been quite dire consequences in my life because of it. I wanted to share this because even though we've got the gift and we want to use it, it's not always received very well. Even when they say they want to know, you can be punished afterwards, and punished actually quite severely. I've lost friendships because people asked me to tell them what I thought, what I got. I've also lost friendships because Spirit told me I needed to tell them this because they were going to get sick or was something they needed to deal with, and they got all cranky with me and ended the friendship. So it's up to you what you do, but I'm just warning you that it's not always something that has a good outcome. I tend to separate it more. If someone comes for a reading, I'll read them because I'm actually working in a more professional way. When they're my friends or family, I temper it. The closer that you get to people, the more emotionally involved you are in people, you'll still be getting your messages and your instincts and your insights. But whether you say that or not is something else, because it can damage your relationships, especially family and friend relationships. You will be getting the information right. It's not that you're not right. But if people aren't ready to hear something or deal with something, they don't want to face an issue, and you bring it up, you will find that they will shut down the issue or the problem, but they also shut you down. That's the actual outcome that you'll have, that they'll say they want to, you'll tell them, and then they'll shut you out. It doesn't feel good. I don't regret some of the things that Spirit have told me to tell certain people that were for their greater good. The fact that they didn't want to do it was their choice, and I still believe that even though I knew I was going into uncharted territory and it could go awfully wrong, and it did actually go awfully wrong, I still don't regret it, because maybe later on they'll remember what was said to them and they'll deal with it, or when they cross over, they'll deal with it. Some of these people were going to get sick because they wouldn't let go or face their issues, and it was like blocked in the aura, and I could see it was going to make them ill. If the fact is that if they choose to get ill rather than face it, at least they had the warning. However, you're a person and you'll have the loss of the friendship and the rejection that goes with it. It's not really they're rejecting you, they're rejecting the information, and people are stubborn and unwielding if they think they're right. And if the block is very severe, they will just project it back onto you. I remember telling somebody something about abuse that I felt that they'd suffered, because the Spirit had told me I needed to warn them because they were going to get sick. I didn't tell them that part, but they just said I was projecting my stuff onto them or something, and that was the end of the friendship. And it was a 20-year-old friendship. Your messages will probably be right. Whether you tell them or not is the gamble that you have to take. In some cases, it's not necessary. If you've alluded to it and you can feel when you start to go in, you're not going to go anywhere, just back out and leave it. Don't say anything anymore, because the timing will be wrong. And sometimes with some people, I don't think there is any good timing. They don't want to hear, they don't want to know. The gift is a great thing to have, and the gift is for other people. they don't want it sometimes. They don't want to hear. Therefore, you can just be quiet, wait for a better time, or you can say it and just wear the consequences of what happens. We're strange creatures because we've come down here to grow and to deal with our stuff and to ascend. But when we get here, it's like we have amnesia. I like to call it spiritual amnesia. I think Pra called it that, which I thought was always such a cute way to talk about it. But you never know when the door is going to open for people. And then, of course, if they come back to you, you can still be loving and kind to them because you understand what was really happening. Perhaps you were the first one to try and nudge that little door open, Pandora's box, and were not successful. But Spirit might give them another nudge through someone else or some other situation. Sometimes people have accidents. And there's somebody, one of the ones I actually ended up losing as a friend, and she fell off a ladder and hurt her ankle. She broke her leg. That's right. She fell off the thing and broke her leg. Was in hospital and in bed for weeks. And she actually even knew it because she said to me, "Oh, this is because I need to face my demons." But when Wendy came up and said, "This is the demon," it didn't go all that well. However, I have faith. When her brother died, he came through to me and wanted me to try again to rekindle the friendship, which I did, but she was the same. And then he's been through a few times, so I just told him, "You're going to have to." I've sent some healing around, but you're going to have to shake it. She's going to shake it free because I've tried, and now you have to do it. I still think there's possibility for her. She hasn't passed yet, so we'll wait and see. So even though I regret the loss of the relationship, and I actually knew that because when I wrote the letter and told her what I was getting and what there was to deal with, I said to her I could lose a friendship, but I was willing to sacrifice it for her greater good, so she didn't get a terminal illness. I didn't say terminal illness, but so she could keep well. I wrote it in a fairly nice way. It still didn't work out yet, but there's always hope, you see, and that's what you have to realise. There's always hope. The other aspect is sometimes you're being told a message so you know what's going on, so you can maybe be quiet, but you will treat them in a certain way which shows compassion and tolerance. So, for example, if you know that their husband's having an affair psychically, but you don't know that in the real world, you can just be a bit nicer to them. And if they start to speak to you about they're worried about stuff, you won't just dismiss it. You might sit and talk to them about how they feel and what made them feel like that. So you can actually be a silent support, knowing everything but being quiet. This podcast is important for you because you can get into all sorts of trouble with this, and they will shoot you. They will shoot the messenger. So the greater and harder the message is for them to acknowledge, the worse it will be possibly for you. And that's why I'm doing my warning podcast. Warning, warning, they're going to shoot you, because you need to go in there aware, that's all. I think it's good to tell people things you get that are going to ultimately mean they get sick if they don't deal with it. I think that's a kind thing to do. And honestly, if they don't get it here, once they cross, they'll see it completely. I'm expecting quite a lot of apologies to come from the other side. But I don't regret it, but I did get very, very hurt, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. I just thought they would be joyful to be told things that could make them better. But some things that I had to say or relay, they didn't go down very well. Good luck with this section. The more you ascend, the more information you're going to get, and you need to be quite discerning for yourself and possibly for them as well. It is about many things, but the greatest one is whether they will receive it or not, and what will be the outcomes of that. And only you can determine it. In all the cases where I've told people certain things that they wanted to know, I did come with some warnings I've often said to them, they go, oh, tell me what you're getting. And I'm like, you're not going to like it, like, you won't like what I'm going to tell you. No, tell me. And then you'll tell them, and then you're right, they didn't like it, and then they go off in a strop for a while. Just be aware of that. It's not, it's not that you shouldn't do it. It's just that you need to go in with your eyes wide open. That's what I'm trying to say. Go in with your eyes wide open and understand there are different outcomes to what you possibly thought. Well, that's my message for you today. I hope you received it and you're okay with it. Oh, it's a crazy world down here doing this work, but don't give up doing it, because it comes from love, and it comes from caring about people, and it also comes from wanting the best for them, like wanting for them to have the best life. And if that means facing some truth they don't want to, and then dealing with it, well, that's a better life, isn't it? And that maybe in the Garden of Remembrance, you were supposed to say something at certain times as well. Remember that maybe you were the catalyst and the one who was supposed to help them to finally deal with something. I'm sending you lots of love and light, and good luck with your messages this week.